Hey, what's up? I'm Smart One. Today I'm making a dish, Brazilian moqueca, which is a Brazilian seafood stew. It's one of my favorite dishes to eat. It's light, it's vibrant, but I'll show you all the details. Watch the video, stick around, then you get all the backstory, the recipe inspiration, the music inspiration, recipe tips, and just a breakdown overall of what the dish is and it's all about. Thanks, let's get to cooking. So what is moqueca? It's, like I said, it's a Brazilian seafood stew. mainly whitefish and different types of seafood. Could be shrimp. I've used scallops, work well, but it's a vibrant dish full of culture and just flavor. Normally the seafood is cooked or slow simmered in a really fragrant broth. It could be tomato based, it could be coconut based, depending on the region that we're talking about. For me, I focus on the more African influenced region, Baiana. So this is, the territory, the region of Brazil that was mostly where the slave trade occurred. So there's a huge African contingent, a lot of African culture, lots of, just that whole African, vibe, given the number of black people that are in that part of Brazil. So the way you see this play out in the dish is you see ingredients like coconut milk and palm oil, which are, very common dishes that are not unique, but, primarily used in a lot of African cooking, particularly the western part of Africa. That's really prominent in the dish, and that's where you get like that full flavor, that fragrance, and the color. The palm oil is red, and so you get like a really nice yellowish color that makes this dish just like really stand out and gives you that vibrant, thing that I talked about, as well as like the color and the smells and all of that. So this really what gives the dish a lot of its character. And then the presence of the coconut milk is going to lend itself to a more creamy base. So you have this really creamy texture, silky smooth, that just, provides the right mouthfeel, just makes this just a really fun dish to eat, as well as the flavor. So you got like kind of that tropical, vibe, that seafood, definitely makes it just more coastal. But you got a light dish that's really tasty. Tim Maia is a Brazilian singer. You would describe him kind of like psychedelic meets soul, larger than life character, very similar to like a George Clinton, probably just high making these crazy, dope music, songs, but a lot of fun, a lot of partying, some politics, but definitely a good vibe. And this song was meant to be like a fun song, celebratory, cool, funk, groovy, soulful, like all of those different things kind of come together in a Tim Maia song. I discovered him in college. I took an elective, jazz appreciation, and my professor was really cool about a lot of fusion music. And so, Tim kind of represents that soul meets funk, from the 70s, just really groovy vibes that I really just kind of dug into. And it's perfect for this dish. I think it's the perfect song because it embodies that soulful, fun, vibrant essence of Brazilian culture. Like it's just that song. And you listen to it and you're definitely gonna vibe with it. The song's got that funk, it's smooth, it's groovy, and all of those like really like work well with the different ingredients. The coconut, smooth, the palm oil, funky. And so that's really what you're working with. And the song is like a perfect encapsulation of exactly of how the dish is supposed to make you feel. I mean, despite all these different elements, everything works together like in harmony, just like the song with all the different instruments that are going on, the different things that Tim Maia's got going on in his personal life. All that stuff comes together and gives you this smooth, rich. My introduction to Brazilian cuisine, and this dish in particular, came through a professor that I had in grad school. He was a Brazilian guy, hosted a lot of parties for our class, and this is one of the dishes that he would serve for a party. So it's definitely like, great for entertaining, and also a good introduction to Brazilian culture, particularly the black side of Brazilian culture. I stayed true to the dish for the most part. One big change was adding the Haitian element, which I added the Epis, which is it's a kind of a green seasoning, very herbs and peppers and onions and garlic, used as a flavor seasoning base. It adds a lot of brightness to a dish. So I wanted to make it even more festive, make it even more colorful. And so you see like the little specks of color in the dish, but just know that there's a lot of flavor like in that, and just really elevates the dish to a whole nother level. Still core, Brazilian, just add a little fusion because that's what I do with my. So tip number one, palm oil doesn't have a high smoke point, so it's kind of delicate. You don't want to cook at a really high temperature. Keep the temperature low, otherwise the flavor in the palm oil will become like really bitter, and that bitterness will be all throughout your dish, and so you don't want that. Tip number two for the recipe, you want to be smart about the fish you use. You want a firm white fish, like a halibut, snapper, grouper. This is not the time to go with catfish or tilapia. Nothing against those fishes, but just thinking about the flavor and and how this is going to hold up in the cooking. You want something just a little more meaty, a little more firmer. So think about that. As far as other seafood, if you want to move away from fish, like I said, shrimp is great. I like to use this, keep the shells on because it's a lot harder to overcook. That shell actually kind of protects, and then there's a lot of flavor there also. Scallops are another, great seafood option that go into this dish that you can consider. Or you can just do all three, which is what I did. I had shrimp, I had scallops, and I had my halibut. Tip number three, this dish is meant to taste as good as it looks or look as good as it tastes, however you want to think about that. So play around with color. I used bell peppers, but for those bell peppers, I used a mix of different colors. Red, yellow, orange, you can have green. So there's just a lot of different colors. You got green from the cilantro, the different colors from the peppers, onions, the palm oil. Like there's just so much color that makes this dish like exciting and vibrant and makes you want to eat it even more. Tip number four, don't start adding seafood to the dish too early. Allow the flavors in the sauce to concentrate so that there's just more flavor by the time you add your seafood. So give it a little time, don't be in such a rush. Heck, you can even make the sauce paste piece part of this dish like ahead of time and let it sit and let those flavors really, really like gel and come together. That's a really, really good idea, just in terms of like adding more flavor to the dish. But definitely you want to hold up on adding the seafood before that sauce begins to concentrate in flavors, right? Because you got a lot of different things working there. Tip number five, the shrimp with the shells is gonna take a little longer to cook than the fish. So you can actually start in terms of like the cadence or like how you order the ads. Start with the shrimp first for a few minutes, allow it to cook, get further along, and then add the shrimp. And then add the fish, and the fish will catch up eventually. And so both the fish and the shrimp will be ready right about the same time. So as you allow the sauce to concentrate flavors, keep in mind that it's going to reduce, meaning that like the volume of sauce is going to reduce, get less, concentrate. And so what you end up with is a lot of the seafood, when you add it to the dish, will only be partially covered. Like, right, it will come up like maybe like halfway. And so you won't have all of the fish touching different parts of the sauce. Now, obviously you can stir it up, and we will do that and mix it in and make sure that all parts of the seafood get some color and get some of that flavor on it. But a tip that I use, and we'll call it tip number 6, I think we're on 6, is to reserve about a cup of the sauce before adding the seafood, and then just spoon it or base it on top of the seafood. And you ensure that all parts of the seafood get all of that flavor, and everything is wonderful and everything is great. And it's party time, and we can get it in and celebrate, boom, boom. You saw me put a chili pepper in the dish. This is not a spicy dish. It can be if you wanted to, but this is not meant to, because I want all the flavors to be able to be balanced without any one ingredient overpowering the rest. And so with the pepper, I used a Scotch bonnet or habanero. If you have that, it's a great substitute. And I just punctured holes in the side to allow some of the essence of the flavor and the sweetness in the chili come out without like dropping all of that heat and that fire into the dish. And so that's really the trick there. If you want to chop the habanero up, just make sure you keep the veins and the seeds out so that, again, all of that heat is not part of the dish. Last thing I'll say is, don't forget to remove the chili before it disintegrates. After a little bit of cooking, it's gonna soften up and it's going to start to break down. If you leave it in too long, then all of that heat will seep into the dish. Again, if you're cool with that, fine, go with it. But if you prefer to like have this a little more mellow, operate with care. I like my dish my moqueca over rice, and then a couple of sides. I bring, it's a whole Brazilian vibe. It's a thing. I have, Brazilian style collard greens, as well as feijoada or black bean stew with pork. You can make it however you want, but it's a really good time. And maybe, you drink some caparinas. Check all of those out. I think I may have, all of those recipes on YouTube, definitely on the blog. So that's it. Hopefully you had fun. Thanks for vibing with me this week on this recipe. As always, I tell you, if you like the recipe, if you try it, definitely leave a like or comment. Most importantly, hit that red subscribe button and get updates, new recipes weekly as I post. That's it. I'll see you next week. Be inspired. Don't forget to play it forward. Inspire others. Peace out.